your screws that you remembered where it came out of. All right, as you can see, we got the carb out. We are going to start by doing the sophisticated stuff, as you could say, and make sure what these screws are set at from the factory. So this one, I guess, just has an idle screw, no fuel air ratio screw. So you'll take it straight up and down. You go inward, that's half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and you can feel the tension on it. You get about, we're at 4, you get about 4.25, she's bottomed out. So when you put this back out, which you'll see me do, but you'll bring it all the way in like this, and then you'll just bring it out. That little guy, I'll set that on there. I got this because you can spray everything off and it goes right through into this container I have underneath it. But so we got that out. Now you can see it in there. Maybe. Right there. And that is pretty much straight up and down. So we'll go half a turn, 1, 1.5. Basically 1.5, and just a little bit, it bottoms out. So 4.5 and 1.5. So we'll take this all the way out. Here's your air screw needle. So 4. So we just go like this. I could play back the video, but this is what I normally do. To remember. If you guys can see that, yeah, you can see it on the screen. It's 4.5, 1.5 for each of those. And you remember which is which anyway, but I always put them next to them. Now I take this bowl off. Oof. This is where your main problems lie. Literally, usually. Now when you take these out, watch the gasket. You don't want to mess the carb gasket or the bowl gasket up. Because then you really have to wait to finish the job. And then crack these top two. Ooh. Oof. Oh, usually you can crack it and let all the fuel just flow out the bottom so it's not all over your fingers, but this one seems to be crusted on there pretty good, so hopefully it doesn't rip the gasket taking it off. It's probably a rubber seal that's embedded in, so hopefully it shouldn't rip it, but hopefully. Wow. Actually a pretty good setup for Suzuki. No gasket that falls out. And honestly, everything looks clean, but we'll take it all out and spray it all out. There's your slide. And then your needle valve is going to be on that. That controls your air and fuel, well, your fuel going into the bowl. Interesting setup. This will be your main jet for when you're giving it gas, letting off. This is your idle jet. I'm just sitting there idling, getting fuel. I don't know if this really needs to be taken off. Weird. Anyway, idle jet. It looks like the idle jet is slightly plugged. We'll look at this main jet. This thing's got to be plugged. Oh. Just a little bit, but it was just all on the end, so it looked terrible, but you can see through both, so we should be good. And now we'll spray everything off and put it back together. You can see that was spraying right through there. So them are good. Bowl screws are good. Them are fine. That's cleaned out, sprayed out. That's needle sprayed out. Now we'll see if, yeah, this jet, God, that should be the main, this should be the idle jet, but it's plugged. You can see it hardly wants to come out. Yeah, so that's gonna have to, won't spray out. So you take the finest needle you can ever find. If I can get it out one-handed. Oh my goodness. And then try and get it through. If not get it through, you're at least getting it in there and worked, so whatever's in there will come out. As you can see, these go right through. These are clean. But this, which this hole might not be big enough for a needle to go through, but at least we gotta get it cleaned out. Looky there. Loosen that right up. That now it sprays out of there. Just like that. That's probably the main problem of this whole thing, but we'll see. She's all cleaned up. Spray off. Spray everything off, really. Make sure our needle, there's no scum. That's good. This is good. And now we just spray everything. Every spot you can, just spray her. Spray a clean spot off here. You can set that to now put everything back together. We'll go wipe our hands off and then we'll start it putting back together. All right, putting it back together. You just start with whatever you want. Obviously not the floats first because everything will be in the way, but start by putting this back on. Correctly. That sleeve is locked in there. Then this can go in. That's tight. Your main jet. Depending on what carb you're doing, sometimes you have to take the main jet out, and there's a jet under that one you can take out also. But this guy, there is not. Make sure to clean your tools each time you go in. Last thing you want is a little piece of dirt clogging up your jets. So main jet's in, idle jet is in. And then To enclose this up, we'll take our floats, put our needle back in where it goes, carefully. Wipe this off. Take it out the same way it came out, because some are knurled on one end and you can't get them out. Put that sleeve through, and then just look and make sure that your float is going up and down, and your needle is following along with it, because them can get bent in there, and then your floats won't be in the proper spot for your needle to open and close. This one looks good. The needle is still on the float tab, and the needle is down in its spot. And now the float's in. And then take the bowl, and that slide pin won't move because of the indent that's in these bowls. But then you just softly put that over into place. Hold it with your one finger, and put all 4 of your screws in. And once you have all your screws in, everything is just moderately tight, as tight as you can get it. The screwdriver is tight enough. You don't have to crank on any of this stuff because it's all aluminum. But like these, I like to get one started and just touching where there's tension on your screwdriver, and then tighten the opposite. Probably really doesn't matter at all, but I have bad luck, so I do everything as crisscross as I can. Just like tightening a lug on a wheel. So it's all flat in there, and then I'll go back around and snug them all up for sure. So I'll start by cranking on this one. That's tight enough. That's tight enough. That's tight. That one's tight. And then you'll take your screws that you remembered where it came out of. That one goes right there. And you'll look, and then you have 1.5 turns. From the bottom, so 1.5 from the bottom means we need to screw it all the way into the bottom. Maybe. There we go. All right, so that's tight. So we'll go a little bit back that we talked about, and then we'll do half, 1, 1.5. And just remember what it looked like, and it'll be close enough to run and idle perfectly. And then we have this one. We'll put that back in there. And we'll put her all the way down. sideways now, so we'll do our little sum, and then we'll do, so we're straight up and down. We do half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. And that should be almost exactly where they were, and it should fire and run on that for sure. And if anything, you just, if it's idling low at first, turn this in and it'll idle a little more. Turn it out if the idle's too high. And you want to check that once you get it warm, not right when you start it. Once it's hot, get it going, and then mess with these screws. Because when it's cold, it's going to be way different than when it's hot.